My name is Aisha Ibrahim Abdullahi. I was born and raised in Kano, in northern Nigeria. My story is not something I ever thought I'd share publicly. Where I come from, leaving Islam isn't just a personal decision. It's considered betrayal. For many, it can even cost your life. But I'm here, by the grace of God, to tell you the truth about what happened to me. I grew up in a strict Muslim family. My father is an imam. From the time I was 5, I was learning the Quran in the Islamic school, attending prayers 5 times daily, covering my hair, fasting during Ramadan, and doing everything I was told would bring me closer to Allah. I believed in Islam completely. It was my life, my identity, and my future. I never questioned it, because questioning would mean dishonor. But deep inside, something was wrong. I couldn't explain the emptiness I felt. I prayed, but I didn't feel heard. I memorized verses, but my heart remained heavy. I remember kneeling on my prayer mat one night, tears falling quietly, asking Allah why I always felt so alone. But there was no answer. I kept these feelings hidden, even from my mother. No one would understand. In Kano, you don't say such things. You just obey. Then came the day that changed everything. The day I died. Yes, I died. It was an ordinary day. I was coming back from the market with my younger sister, Miriam. A car came out of nowhere. I remember hearing my sister scream. Then, silence. I woke up in darkness. I thought I was dreaming, but I wasn't. In that darkness, I met someone I had never imagined I would see. I met Jesus. I know this sounds unbelievable, especially to those who know me. A Muslim woman from Kano, standing here today, saying she saw Jesus? It still shocks me too. But it's the truth. This isn't a story I made up. I'm not here to convince anyone to follow me. I'm here to share what happened. Because I know there's someone out there, someone like me, who is searching for peace, and doesn't know where to find it. That's why I'm telling my story now. In this video, I will tell you everything. From the accident to the moment my life ended, to the moment Jesus spoke to me, and how my life has never been the same since. Please, listen with an open heart. Because what I'm about to share isn't just my story. It's my truth.
Friends, what you're about to hear is a rare and powerful testimony from a woman who risked everything to follow the voice that called her out of darkness. This is the true story of Aisha Ibrahim Abdullahi, a Muslim woman from northern Nigeria whose near-death experience led her to a life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ. Watch till the end. Her words might change your life too. Before we continue, welcome to Mysterious Uplift, the channel where real life-changing testimonies meet divine encounters. If you're someone searching for truth, hope, or inspiration, consider subscribing. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of these powerful, true stories. And if this story touches your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Now, let's continue Aisha's incredible journey.
I grew up in Kano, where being Muslim is not just part of your life, it is your life. My father, Malam Ibrahim, is an imam, respected in our community. My earliest memories are of hearing the call to prayer echo from the mosque near our compound, my mother waking me early for far prayers before the sun rose. By age 4, I was already learning to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. At 6, I could recite large portions of the Quran. Every Friday, after school, I'd follow my father to the mosque, where he'd teach the community, and people would greet me respectfully as Malam's daughter. That was my identity, the obedient daughter, the devout Muslim girl. I wore my hijab with pride. My mother often told me that modesty was a woman's crown. In Ramadan, We fasted from sunrise to sunset, not just because it was required, but because I believed it was the only way to please Allah. I prayed 5 times a day, memorized more surahs than my classmates, and followed every rule without question. But if I'm honest, even as a child, there was a silent war inside me. I remember one day, when I was about 12, sitting in the women's section of the mosque. Everyone else seemed at peace, praying, murmuring Quranic verses. But I felt hollow. I looked around and wondered why I felt so distant from the God I was supposed to feel close to. I never dared speak of this to anyone, not to my mother, not to my siblings, not even to myself. In our culture, especially as a woman, questioning meant rebellion. As I grew older, this emptiness deepened. I attended Islamic school alongside regular secondary school. While my friends talked about marriage and future husbands, I found myself quietly praying at night for Allah to just give me peace, even once. I believed something was wrong with me. I thought maybe I wasn't faithful enough. Maybe I wasn't good enough. At 16, I remember asking my father gently, "Baba, why does Allah feel far from me sometimes?" He looked at me, serious, and said, "Aisha, never say such things. Shaitan wants to confuse you. Pray more. Fast more. And stop thinking too much." From that day, I learned to silence my questions. I became the perfect image of a Muslim woman. Outwardly, I obeyed everything. I fasted, I prayed, I covered myself from head to toe. People praised me. My aunties would say, "Allah will reward you, Aisha. You'll marry a good husband and go to Jannah." Inside, I felt trapped. I began dreaming strange dreams. I would see myself lost in a desert, walking alone, searching for water. Sometimes, I'd hear a voice calling my name, but I couldn't find who it was. I told no one. Dreams, after all, were not to be trusted. In my heart, I was crying. But no one could hear. Then came that day, the day I now call the silent goodbye. I went to Saban Gori market with my younger sister Miriam. We were buying onions and spices for my mother. I remember it so clearly. The dusty streets, the shouts of the traders, the hot sun burning my skin through my veil. We crossed the road near the main junction. That's when I heard it. Screeching tires. A loud shout. Miriam screaming my name. Then, silence. Complete, suffocating silence. People often ask me what it's like to die. I wish I could explain it properly. In that moment, I didn't feel pain. I felt nothing. Like someone had turned off a switch. The next thing I knew, I was somewhere else. Somewhere I cannot fully describe with human words. That's where my journey really began. That's where I met him. But before I tell you what happened in that place, I need you to understand, I wasn't looking for Jesus. I wasn't seeking Christianity. I wasn't even asking questions anymore. I was a devoted Muslim woman from Kano. I thought I knew God. But I didn't. And in the place where I died, I learned that truth. In the next part of my story, I will tell you what happened when I crossed over to the other side, where darkness surrounded me. And a voice broke through. A voice that changed everything. What many people don't understand is that wearing the hijab, following Islamic rules, fasting every Ramadan, and memorizing the Quran, it doesn't always mean you have peace. I followed everything. I was obedient, respectful, and faithful. On the outside, I looked like the perfect Muslim woman from Kano. But inside me, there was a war. I never told anyone. Not my mother. Not Miriam. Not even my closest friend, Zainab. I kept it all inside. Because in my family, in my community, admitting doubt is like admitting failure. Worse, it's seen as rebellion against Allah. And I didn't want to bring shame to my father. He was respected as an imam. People listened to him, trusted him to lead them in prayers, and to guide them in faith. How could I tell him that his own daughter felt lost? That his own daughter sometimes knelt on her prayer mat, praying until her knees hurt, and yet felt nothing but silence? There were nights when I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling of my room, tears running down silently. I remember covering my face with my scarf so that even my breathing wouldn't alert my sister sleeping beside me. I was crying out, not just in tears, but in my heart. Asking questions I didn't even know how to phrase. Why do I feel this emptiness? Why do my prayers feel so heavy, like they never reach heaven? Is there something wrong with me? I'd pray longer than required. I'd recite more Quran than necessary. I even began waking up for tahajjud prayers in the middle of the night, hoping that maybe Allah would notice me in those silent hours. But still, nothing. I'd hear my father preach about Allah's mercy, about His love. But I couldn't feel it. Not in the way he described. It felt distant, unreachable. Like Allah was a judge sitting far above, watching but never responding. Sometimes I wondered if Allah had rejected me. Maybe I had committed some sin unknowingly. Maybe I wasn't worthy of His attention. I began to hate myself. I'd watch my mother smile when she finished her prayers, looking so calm, so content. And I'd envy her. I wanted to feel that too. I wanted to feel seen by God. But instead, I felt invisible. I remember one Friday vividly. I had just returned from Jumu'ah prayers with my father. After prayers, we were sitting in the courtyard. My father was teaching young boys the next surah for memorization. I sat beside him, listening quietly. But in my heart, I was screaming. I looked at him, the man I admired most, and wanted so badly to ask. Baba, what if someone feels empty, even after doing everything right? But I didn't ask. Instead, I forced a smile and helped him hand out the Qurans. At night, I cried again. I would ask Allah directly. Why do I feel far from you? Why do you feel silent? But I received no answer. That silence broke me. I thought about running away from it all, but where would I go? I was just a young woman in Kano. Leaving Islam wasn't even an option in my mind. I didn't know what existed outside of Islam. I wasn't curious about other religions. Christianity? That was for the Southerners, as my relatives would say. We didn't even discuss it in our house. In my mind, Christianity was false. That's what I had been taught since childhood. So, I kept my questions buried deep inside. And every morning, I woke up, put on my hijab, stood on the prayer mat, and prayed to a God I wasn't sure could even hear me. No one knew that beneath my veil, I was a girl suffocating. A girl who felt trapped. A girl who was slowly losing hope. I kept asking myself, is this how I'm supposed to feel for the rest of my life? But no answer ever came. And that silent struggle became my reality. Until the day of the accident. Until the day my life ended, and a different voice answered me. I can still remember that day like it happened yesterday. It was a Saturday. The sun was heavy in the sky, and the streets were busy as usual. My younger sister Miriam and I had gone to Saban Gori market to buy onions, tomatoes, and spices for my mother. It was something we did almost every weekend. That morning felt normal, completely ordinary. We laughed as we crossed the street near the main junction. Miriam teased me about a young man who had asked about me the week before. I smiled, shaking my head, not realizing those would be some of my last words spoken on that side of life. It all happened so fast. I remember hearing the sound first, screeching tires, rubber burning against asphalt. Someone shouted. Miriam screamed my name. And then, impact. Everything went silent. There wasn't pain, at least not in the way people imagine. It was like my body belonged to someone else. I felt weightless, disconnected. I remember seeing flashes. People's feet running towards me, Miriam crying loudly, strangers shouting for help, but it all seemed far away, like I was underwater. Then darkness. Complete darkness. I didn't know if I was sleeping or awake. I couldn't feel my body anymore. No pain. No breath. No heartbeat. Just silence. Somewhere far away, I heard my mother's voice, crying. I heard my father reciting verses from the Quran. But those sounds felt like echoes, fading farther and farther from me. I wanted to respond. I tried to open my mouth. I couldn't. I tried to move. I couldn't. I remember thinking, am I dying? Is this death? But what came next was something I never expected. The darkness around me grew heavier. It wasn't just the absence of light. It felt like something alive, something that wanted to swallow me. I panicked. I wasn't ready to die. I tried to pray, to call out Allahu Akbar, to recite Ayatul Kursi like I was taught as protection. But no words came. My mind was blank. Then, out of that thick darkness, I heard something. At first, I thought it was my imagination. A voice. A voice that didn't sound harsh or distant like I expected. It wasn't the voice of a judge. It was calm. Strong. Clear. And calling my name. Not Aisha Ibrahim Abdullahi, like my parents would call me. Just Aisha. Gently. Like someone who knew me. I froze. Who was calling me? I listened. The darkness started pulling away from me, like shadows peeling back. And then I saw it. A light. Far away at first, like a single star in a black sky. But it moved toward me. Slowly, steadily, like it wasn't in a hurry. I wanted to run toward it, but I couldn't move. I felt like a prisoner inside myself. And then the voice came again. Aisha, do not be afraid. At that moment, I broke. I began to cry, not tears from my body, because I no longer had one, but something deep inside me shattered. I felt exposed. Seen. I wanted to ask, who are you? But the words never formed. Then I felt warmth. Pure warmth, like love itself, was surrounding me. And the light kept coming closer. 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 Until it filled everything. I wish I could describe it perfectly. But human words fail. It wasn't just light. It was him. I didn't know who it was yet. But he knew me. He knew everything. He knew every silent tear I had cried behind my veil. He knew every unanswered prayer. He knew the war inside me. And yet, he loved me. At that moment, I felt it. For the first time in my life, I felt peace. Not fear. Not judgment. Not emptiness. Just peace. My body was somewhere else, on the dusty road, lying lifeless as people shouted, carried me, tried to get help. I didn't care. I wasn't there anymore. I was in that light. And I didn't want to leave. But then, something unexpected happened. The voice spoke again, stronger this time. Go back. I felt confused. Why would I go back? Go back, Aisha. Your time is not yet. Tell them about me. And then, just as suddenly as I had arrived in that place, I felt myself pulled backward. Violently. Like being dragged through a tunnel at impossible speed. I heard shouting. Voices. My mother's screams. And then, pain. Real, human, crushing pain. My body returned. My chest burned. I gasped for air. And my eyes opened. I was in the hospital. People were all around me. Miriam was crying uncontrollably, clutching my hand. My mother was reciting prayers frantically over me. My father stood silent, tears in his eyes, a man who never cried. But I couldn't focus on any of them. All I could think was, who was that voice? Who was the one who called my name? And why did he send me back? I didn't know it then. But that moment was the beginning of the end of my old life. And the start of a journey I never asked for. What I'm about to share? I never thought I would say out loud. For months, I even doubted myself. I kept asking, did that really happen? Was it a dream? Was I imagining it because I was near death? But deep down, I know the truth. Because nothing about what I experienced was ordinary. When my body lay lifeless in the hospital, something strange happened. I remember suddenly being able to see, but not with my eyes. I was floating above the room. I saw myself lying there, motionless. I could see my mother holding my hand, sobbing. I saw Miriam press against the wall, crying uncontrollably. My father stood at the corner, reciting the Shorida, trying to remain calm but shaking. And I remember thinking, why are they crying over me? I'm right here. I tried to speak to them. I tried to touch my mother's shoulder. But nothing. I wasn't in my body anymore. I felt light, weightless. Then, in an instant, the hospital scene faded. I was no longer in that room. I was in a different place. At first, there was darkness. Not like the night sky, not like closing your eyes, but a darkness that felt alive. Heavy. Suffocating. I was surrounded by it. I didn't know where to go. I felt fear like I've never felt before. I wanted to cry out, but no sound came. Then came confusion. I kept thinking, where am I? Is this death? Is this the punishment I've always feared? Am I in hell? I tried to remember my prayers, tried to recite Ayatul Kursi for protection, but I couldn't remember the words. My mind was blank. I felt helpless. Afraid. Alone. And just when I thought the darkness would consume me entirely, something changed. From far ahead, I saw a faint light. At first, it looked like a single star, small and distant. But it grew brighter. Stronger. The darkness around me began to retreat, pulling back like smoke. Then I heard it. A voice. It wasn't harsh. It wasn't angry. It was calm. Warm. Powerful. And it called my name. Not my full name like my father would. Just my first name. Aisha. I froze. Who knew me in this place? I felt both terrified and drawn toward that voice at the same time. Then the voice spoke again. Aisha, do not be afraid. Suddenly, the light rushed towards me. Not slowly this time. It surrounded me, filling everything. And in that overwhelming brightness, I saw him. A man. Clothed in pure white. His presence was impossible to describe. He wasn't glowing, yet there was light all around him. His eyes. I remember his eyes most of all. Eyes that saw me, not just my face, but my soul. Eyes that knew every shame, every hidden fear, every unanswered question I had ever buried inside me. And yet, there was no condemnation. Only love. Pure, complete love. I looked at his hands. I saw the marks. Deep scars, like wounds. And in that moment, I understood who he was. It wasn't a question. It wasn't a debate. I knew. It was Jesus. I don't know how I knew. I had never studied the Bible. I had never read about him deeply. But standing there, in that light, looking into his face, I knew. It was him. Then he spoke. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, broken, exposed, undone. He reached out his hand to me. I thought he was going to judge me. Instead, he touched my heart. And I felt everything. All the years of emptiness. All the silent tears behind the veil. All the nights I wondered why Allah never answered me. All the guilt I carried, thinking I was unworthy. He took it all, in one moment. And then he said something I will never forget. I have called you by name. You are mine. At those words, I fell. Not physically. I didn't have a physical body anymore. But my soul fell before him. And I cried like I had never cried before. Not tears of sadness. Tears of release. Tears of peace. Then Jesus did something else. He showed me my life. Not in anger. Not to shame me. But like a father showing a child where they were lost. I saw myself as a young girl, praying and begging for peace. I saw the silent nights where I felt rejected. I saw my heart, empty, hollow. And then he showed me what I was searching for. Him. All along, without knowing it, I was searching for him. He said to me, I was with you. Even when you didn't know me. I saw every tear. I heard every cry. I was waiting. At that moment, I felt whole. For the first time. I didn't want to leave that place. I wanted to stay. But then Jesus looked at me with eyes that I can only describe as both love and authority. And he said, Return. I didn't understand. Return, he repeated. Your time is not yet. Tell them about me. I pleaded silently, not wanting to go. But his will was firm. Go back, Aisha. Tell them you met me. And in an instant, the light vanished. I was pulled backward, fast, like rushing through a tunnel of wind. I heard my own name being called in the hospital. I felt pain. I felt breath. And suddenly, I was back in my body. Eyes open. Heartbeat struggling. Doctors shouting. Miriam's voice crying beside me. But all I could think about was him. Jesus. I didn't understand why he came to me. A Muslim woman from Kano. I wasn't looking for him. I wasn't searching for Christianity. But he came. And he called me by my name. And deep inside, I knew nothing would ever be the same again. I woke up gasping. Like someone who had been underwater too long and finally found air. I remember blinking slowly, confused, my vision blurry. My body felt heavy, like every bone had been broken, yet somehow, I was alive. My chest hurt. My head was pounding. Then I heard voices. Miriam's voice was the first. She was crying uncontrollably, gripping my hand tightly. Aisha. Aisha. She's awake. Mama. She's breathing. I turned my head slightly and saw my mother fall to her knees, her scarf slipping as she cried out Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar. My father stood silently at the edge of the bed, tears in his eyes, lips moving quietly as he recited verses from the Quran. I had never seen him cry before. To them, a miracle had just happened. To me, something impossible had happened. Because while they thanked Allah for my life, all I could think about was him. Jesus. I lay there, too weak to speak, but inside, memories of the encounter flooded me. His face. His eyes. The way he called my name. I have called you by name. You are mine. I felt like screaming. But I said nothing. Because fear gripped me tighter than any injury. How could I tell my father, the Imam, that in the place where I died, I didn't see Allah, or angels of light reciting from the Quran? I saw Jesus. I met him. And he called me his. I wrestled in my mind. What if this was a test? What if Shaitan tricked me? I remembered the warnings from my childhood. Dreams of Jesus are from the devil, they said. But deep inside, I knew this was not deception. I had felt the love. I had seen the light. I knew I had met the truth. But how do you tell your Muslim family that? I stayed silent. For days. In that hospital bed, I listened to people coming in and out of my room. My aunties came. My uncles came. All of them praising Allah for saving my life, saying that I must have a special purpose, that Allah had preserved me for something great. I smiled weakly at them. But my heart was breaking. Because I knew. I knew the one who had saved me. And it wasn't the God I had been taught about. I was caught between two worlds. Every night, when everyone slept, I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, tears silently running down my cheeks. I kept asking myself, what do I do now? Why did Jesus choose me? Why didn't he appear to someone else? I prayed, but not like before. Not the ritual prayers. I spoke directly, whispering into the darkness. Jesus, if it was really you, please, show me again. I was afraid. Afraid to leave Islam. Afraid to follow him. But more than anything, I was afraid of silence. I didn't want him to disappear. I didn't want the emptiness to return. I clung to the memory of his voice like a child holding on to her last piece of safety. At the same time, I felt trapped. I knew that if I told anyone, my life could end. In Kano, stories of people leaving Islam weren't stories, they were warnings. People disappeared. People were disowned. Some were killed. I didn't want to bring that shame upon my father. So I said nothing. I buried the encounter deep inside me, like a hidden wound. But silence doesn't heal wounds. It only makes them deeper. And as I lay there, pretending to recover, pretending to smile, Inside, I was dying a different kind of death. A death of confusion. A death of fear. And a hunger to hear that voice again. After I left the hospital, life looked normal on the outside. But inside me, everything had changed. I was no longer the same Aisha Ibrahim Abdullahi. Physically, I was recovering. My body was weak, but I could walk, speak, and even smile when visitors came. My mother believed I was a miracle. My father, though quiet, seemed to carry a strange respect for me now. People came to our house, saying, Allah has favored her. But in my heart, I knew the truth. It wasn't Allah who saved me. I had met someone else. And that knowledge haunted me. I woke up every morning feeling two worlds pulling me in different directions. One world was familiar, the world of Islam, my family, my community, my father's teachings. It was safe, predictable. But empty. The other world was terrifying. Unknown. All I had was a memory, Jesus' face, his voice, his words, I have called you by name. You are mine. And yet, it felt like home. I wanted to speak about it. But every time I tried, fear choked me. What if my father sent me away? What if my mother rejected me? What if the community found out? In Kano, being a convert was dangerous. I had heard of girls beaten, hidden away, even killed. So, I stayed silent. But silence didn't mean peace. At night, when everyone slept, I would sit in the corner of my room, tears sliding down my face, whispering, Jesus, if you're really who you say you are, please help me. I don't know what to do. Then, something strange happened. A hunger woke inside me. I needed to know more. I couldn't ask my father. I couldn't ask my friends. So, I started searching secretly. One night, when everyone was asleep, I borrowed Miriam's small phone. She didn't know. I went into the bathroom, locked the door, and typed into the search bar, "Who is Jesus in dreams?" What I found shocked me. I saw stories. Stories from other Muslims. People from Iran. From Egypt. Even from Nigeria. People who said they had seen a man in white. People who said Jesus had come to them in dreams. I sat on the cold floor, shaking, tears streaming down my face. I wasn't alone. I wasn't going crazy. I read their stories until morning. And something inside me began to break. I started searching more. At midnight, in secret, I typed, Jesus calling Muslims. I found testimonies. Videos. People risked their lives to say, I met him. I saw one video where a man said the exact words Jesus spoke to me, I have called you by name. You are mine. My whole body trembled. I knew this wasn't a coincidence. I wasn't imagining this. Jesus had really come to me. But the question remained. What now? Do I leave everything? Do I tell my family? I felt trapped between truth and fear. I wanted Jesus, but I didn't know how to follow him. And the more I read, the hungrier I became. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating properly. My mother thought I was recovering slowly. But the real reason was my inner battle. I spent every moment asking Jesus silently. Why me? Why did you choose me? What do you want from me? But he stayed silent. At least, for now. Because one night, when I least expected it, he answered. And he didn't come in a dream. He came again. Awake. standing in my room. The morning after the second encounter, I knew I couldn't stay silent any longer. The fear inside me was still there, heavy and suffocating. But something stronger had taken its place: peace. It wasn't the peace that comes from everything being easy. It was the kind that stands in the middle of a storm and says, "No matter what happens, I am not alone." Jesus had come to me. Again. Not in a dream. Not in a vision. But awake. Real. Standing at the foot of my bed. When I saw him that night, his eyes looked at me the same way they had in that place of light. Full of love. Full of knowing. His voice was gentle but clear. He said only one thing: "Aisha, do not be afraid. Follow me." Then he was gone. But his presence stayed. And his words echoed in my heart. I knew what I had to do. But knowing and doing are two different things. The next morning, I sat quietly through breakfast. My mother watched me with concern. I think she knew something was wrong, though she didn't know what. My father was already preparing for the mosque, reciting the usual morning surahs. Miriam tried to joke with me like she always did, but I barely responded. I felt like a stranger in my own home. By midday, I couldn't bear the wait anymore. I waited until my father returned from the mosque. I waited until my mother finished her cooking. I waited until Miriam was inside her room. Then I sat in front of my parents and said words I never imagined I would say. "I need to tell you something." My father looked up, concerned. My mother stopped stirring the pot. "I saw someone when I was gone," I whispered. My voice was shaking. "Who?" my father asked gently. I swallowed hard. My heart felt like it would burst. "Jesus." The silence that followed was heavier than any sound. My father's face changed. Slowly. From confusion, to disbelief, to fear. My mother dropped the spoon. I continued before I lost courage. When I died, I didn't see what we were taught. I didn't hear Allah's voice. I didn't see angels. I saw Jesus. And he called me by my name. My mother whispered something under her breath. My father stood up. "Stop. Stop this madness," he said, his voice trembling, not with anger, but with terror. "You're confused. This is the devil trying to deceive you." I cried. "I'm not confused, Baba." He came to me again. He told me to follow him. My father raised his hand, not to hit me, but to silence me. "Do not speak again." My mother began to weep quietly. Not the kind of tears that come from sadness, but the kind that come from complete heartbreak. She wouldn't even look at me. The rejection in her silence hurt worse than any slap could. My father paced the floor. Then he turned to me and said words I never imagined hearing from him. "You are no longer my daughter." I broke. Tears poured down my face, but I couldn't speak. My mouth refused to open. My heart shattered inside me. My mother walked out of the room, covering her head, as if shielding herself from the shame of my words. Miriam heard the commotion and came running. She looked at me with confusion, fear in her eyes. I couldn't explain. I couldn't comfort her. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, empty. My father told me to pack my things. That night, I sat alone in my room, the only home I'd ever known, folding my few clothes into a small bag. Miriam watched from the doorway, crying softly, not understanding why her sister was being cast out. I wanted to explain. I wanted to say goodbye properly. but I couldn't. Because deep inside, I knew this wasn't goodbye. Jesus hadn't abandoned me. And though my family rejected me, I was no longer alone. The night I left my family's house, I didn't know where I was going. I had no plan, no money, no one to call. I just walked. The streets of Kano felt colder than I'd ever known. Every face that passed me looked like a stranger now. I remember clutching my small bag tightly, tears burning in my eyes, but I forced myself not to cry. I felt empty, but not lost. Somewhere deep in my heart, I kept hearing the words Jesus spoke, "Do not be afraid. Follow me." Hours later, I found myself outside a small church compound. I didn't even realize my feet had carried me there. It was late, the gates locked, but lights were still on inside. I stood there for a long time, unsure of what to do. I didn't even know if Christians would accept someone like me. In Kano, Christians and Muslims kept their distance. I had never spoken to a pastor in my life. But that night, I knocked. Eventually, a woman opened the door. She was older, kind-looking. When she saw me, her face softened immediately. I remember the way she said, "My dear, what happened to you?" I broke down in tears. She didn't ask questions. She didn't hesitate. She took me inside. That night, for the first time, I slept peacefully. Over the next few weeks, I stayed at that church guest house. I met people who didn't care about where I came from, what my surname was, or what religion I had been born into. They simply loved me. They listened to my story without judgment. I told the pastor everything, about the accident, the darkness, the voice, and the man in white. When I finished, he said calmly, "Aisha, Jesus met you because he chose you. You belong to him now." For the first time, I understood. I wasn't a mistake. I wasn't deceived. I was found. One morning, in the quiet of that small church, I knelt down, without a prayer mat, without Arabic words, and simply said, "Jesus, I am yours." That was the beginning of my new life. The emptiness that haunted me for years, it disappeared. I had peace. Real peace. Not fear of punishment. Not empty rituals. But a relationship. A savior. A friend. Today, I am no longer Aisha Ibrahim Abdullahi, the daughter of the Imam. I am Aisha, a daughter of Christ. And no matter what I lost, I gained everything. Because Jesus is worth it all. Today, my life looks nothing like it once did. I no longer wake up to the sound of the call to prayer or wear my hijab out of duty. I no longer carry the weight of unanswered prayers or the silent fear that used to follow me everywhere. Instead, I wake up each morning with peace in my heart, a peace I never knew was possible. Jesus didn't just meet me in that place of light. He stayed with me. Every single day. I live in a small Christian community now, far from my hometown of Kano. Life isn't easy. I miss my family more than I can describe. Sometimes, I sit quietly and think about my mother's face, my father's voice, and my sister's laughter. I pray for them every day. Not the prayers I used to say, but prayers full of hope that one day, they too will meet Jesus, the same way I did. I've found a new family here. Brothers and sisters in Christ who walk beside me, encourage me, and remind me that I'm never alone. I've been learning the Bible slowly, understanding what it means to truly be loved, not because of what I do, but because of who Jesus is. I've been baptized. I've stood before others and publicly declared what once terrified me to even whisper, "I belong to Jesus." Each day, He heals the broken places inside me. Each day, He shows me that His grace is enough. I don't know what the future holds, but I know the one who holds me. My story isn't about a girl who abandoned her faith. It's about a girl who finally found the truth. And that truth has a name. His name is Jesus Christ. To my Muslim brothers and sisters, I know what you feel. I know the weight of questions you're too afraid to ask. I know the emptiness that can hide behind daily prayers. I know what it means to cry silently behind closed doors, wondering why God feels so far away. I was there. I wore the hijab. I prayed 5 times a day. I fasted every Ramadan. I tried to be perfect. But no matter what I did, I felt unseen, unheard, unloved. And yet, in my deepest darkness, Jesus came to me. He didn't come with anger. He didn't come to condemn me. He came with love. He came to give me the peace I was searching for all my life. I'm not asking you to reject everything you've ever known overnight. I understand how frightening that thought can be. I'm simply asking you to do what I once did, open your heart and ask. Ask the question you've buried. Whisper in your own words, Jesus, if you are real, show me. That's what I did. And He answered. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. You don't have to understand everything to be chosen. He knows your name. He sees your tears. And He is waiting for you. To everyone watching, whether you are Muslim, Christian, or unsure, please understand this: Jesus is real. He is alive. And He loves you more than you can ever imagine. I lost everything, my family, my home, my old life. But in Jesus, I found everything I truly needed. And if He could come for someone like me, He will come for you too. Just call out to Him. He will answer. I am living proof. If you're watching right now, and something inside your heart feels stirred, that's not by accident. Maybe you're feeling confused. Maybe you're afraid. Maybe, like me, you've been searching for peace your whole life. I want you to know, Jesus sees you. Just like He saw me. You don't need fancy words. You don't need to change your clothes or your name. You don't need to be perfect to come to Him. He loves you just as you are, right now. If you're ready, if you want to know Jesus personally, like I do, I invite you to pray with me. Wherever you are, whether you're sitting, lying down, or even crying, just speak this with your heart. Jesus, I don't know everything about you, but I want to know you. I need you. I've searched for peace, and now I realize you are that peace. Forgive me for my sins. Wash me clean. I give you my heart, my life, my everything. Be my Lord. Be my Savior. I am yours. Amen. If you said that prayer, know this: heaven rejoices over you right now. And I want to pray over you. Lord Jesus, I thank you for every person listening right now. You see their hearts. You see their tears. You know their questions. I ask you to reveal yourself to them like you did to me. Surround them with your love. Speak their name. Call them to yourself. Heal their wounds. Replace their fear with peace. Let them know they are never alone. In your mighty name I pray. Amen. Dear friend, welcome to the family of Christ. You are loved. You are chosen. And you are home. Thank you for staying with me and listening to my story. I didn't share this to draw attention to myself. I shared it because I know there are many people out there, just like I was, searching in silence, afraid to speak, yet longing for peace. I want you to know, you are not alone. My life changed the moment Jesus met me. And I believe He's calling you too. If this story touched your heart, I invite you to share this video. Let it reach someone else who might be searching for answers. You never know whose life you could change just by sharing this message. Please subscribe to this channel, Mysterious Uplift, where we share true stories of faith, hope, and life transformation. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and let me know where you're watching from. I would love to pray for you personally. If you need prayer, guidance, or have questions about Jesus, feel free to reach out in the comments below or send a message. You are seen. You are loved. And we're here for you. Remember this. Jesus is still calling people, Muslims, Christians, anyone willing to listen. I am living proof. Until we meet again, may His peace be upon you. Keep seeking, and you will find. God bless you.